On my wedding day, my fiancé called off our marriage for his ex-girlfriend. I clutched at his sleeve, pleading pathetically, but he shook me off harshly. We can get married anytime. She's in a car accident fighting for her life, can't you stop being so dramatic? The wedding's postponed. We'll get married whenever I come back. With those two icy sentences, he stormed out without looking back, not even once. The bridesmaids asked me with aching hearts, Amy, is the wedding still on? Should we notify the guests about the postponement? I gripped my wedding dress tightly, but my gaze grew resolute. Why shouldn't the wedding proceed? Isn't his identical twin brother backstage? Dress him in the groom's attire, the ceremony will go on as scheduled. After only dating for 1 month, I defied my family's objections and resolutely walked into the marriage hall with Connor. Amy, you look so beautiful today. Connor's hand gently caressed my face as I leaned blissfully against his chest. Little did I know, this happiness would soon be shattered by a single phone call. Amy, I need to take this call. Since it was an unknown number, he put it on speakerphone. We assumed it was a telemarketer, but instead came a woman's faint, desperate cry for help. Connor, I've been in a car accident. I might die. Before I go, I just wanted to hear your voice one last time. I instantly recognized this woman's voice, Connor's ex-girlfriend. Luna. Connor's heart skipped a beat, while mine sank to the pit of my stomach. Years ago, Luna had broken up with Connor and gone abroad to get married. After being Connor's little follower for so many years, I thought I finally had a chance to win him over. Yet he continued to string me along as before, never giving me a clear answer. It wasn't until a month ago, when Connor heard the news of Luna's pregnancy, that he finally gave up and reluctantly agreed to date me with a cold expression. But I wasn't upset by his indifference, instead, I treasured it like a rare gem. Even though we had just started dating, I immediately told my parents I wanted to marry him. My parents objected right away, you've only been together for a month, what's the rush? Do you even know him? But what they didn't know was that I had loved him for 10 years. From age 15 to 25. Ever since his speech at the high school awards ceremony made my heart skip a beat. Even though I knew he and Luna had grown up together, their ambiguous relationship unclear, I still threw caution to the wind and became his little sidekick, just hoping he'd notice me. This is also the reason why I was in such a hurry to get married. It felt like if we didn't, he could leave me at any moment. I thought today my dream would finally come true, but that phone call shattered it completely. Connor, completely ignoring my presence, desperately shouted into the phone, Luna. Have you returned to the country? Where are you? How badly are you hurt? Tell me quickly. I'm coming to save you. Luna, however, kept apologizing incessantly, I'm sorry. Connor, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have abandoned you back then. I had my own reasons. Truth is, that foreigner and I were in a sham marriage. I was forced into this pregnancy, it was that foreigner who took advantage of me. I'm so sorry. For so long, I've never been able to let you go. Everyone said you were in love, and I didn't dare disturb you, afraid it would affect your relationship. But when I heard you got married a few days ago, I couldn't hold back anymore. I bought a ticket back home, just wanting to catch a glimpse of you from afar outside your wedding venue. That would have been enough. But right as I arrived at your wedding location, I got into a car accident. Now I feel like I'm bleeding dry. Maybe this is my punishment. Connor, I love you. With these words, the call immediately ended. Luna. Luna. Connor screamed her name with heart-wrenching agony. I watched tears streak down his face, I'd never seen him shed such tears for me. She's nearby. I have to save her. I have to save her. He didn't even care about our wedding and was about to rush out immediately. I quickly grabbed him. Connor. What about our wedding then? He impatiently snapped, when can't we get married? She's in a car accident, life or death unknown, can you stop being so melodramatic? I never imagined he would say such a thing, and my aggrieved tears burst forth uncontrollably. But the guests have already arrived. You know my family is in business, and these guests are all top executives from various industries. Some are elderly and flew all the way here just to bless us. Am I supposed to go out there and tell them the wedding is cancelled? That they should just go home? He violently shoved me away, sending me tumbling to the ground while sneering contemptuously. Just tell them the wedding is postponed. What's the big deal about making those old folks wait? The wedding will happen whenever I get back. He left those two cold words behind and walked away without looking back. Alone, I frantically called and messaged him. I was wrong, please come back, okay? Come back in half an hour, alright? When will you return? I'll wait for you. Yet, in response to my humble pleas, he simply replied with "Get lost" before blocking me. I could no longer hold back my tears, covering my face as I sobbed. The bridesmaids, hearing the commotion, rushed over. Wiping my tears, they asked, should the wedding still go on? Of course it has to. There are so many important guests outside who've been waiting forever. If we cancel suddenly now, we'll offend half the town. But without the groom, how can we proceed? Should Amy host the wedding alone? She'd become the laughingstock of the entire city. If there's no other way, we should just postpone it. The bridesmaids chattered one after another, their words filled with nothing but worry about this wedding. Yet all I felt was a chilling disappointment. Connor, you cared even less about this wedding than my bridesmaids did. And your concern for me? It paled in comparison to theirs. I clenched the hem of my dress tightly, my gaze resolute. No need to postpone. The wedding will proceed as scheduled. Hearing this, the bridesmaids thought grief had driven me mad. Amy, are you serious? How can you hold it alone? Do you really plan to walk up there by yourself? Meeting their pitying looks, I smiled. Who said I'd be alone? Connor's twin brother is still backstage, isn't he? Bring him here. They gasped in shock. Connor has a twin brother? Since when? How could we not know about this? I explained, they were born as twin brothers, but the elder one had congenital heart disease. Connor's parents couldn't afford the treatment and had no choice but to abandon him, leaving him at the doorstep of an orphanage. Later, when their financial situation improved, they regretted abandoning that child every single day. That child became a constant source of anguish for Connor's parents. I loved Connor so deeply that I naturally considered his parents as my own. Seeing them living in perpetual remorse, my heart ached for them. So I used my family's connections to investigate what had become of him. Just 3 days ago, I finally found him, so I invited him to our wedding. I originally wanted to surprise Connor and his parents on this joyous occasion, but on this supposedly happy day, Connor abandoned me for another woman. As I was speaking, the door suddenly opened. In walked a tall, slender man with short, tousled hair falling over his sharp brow. His eyelashes were as distinct as a fan's ribs, and his dark eyes, at first glance, looked exactly like Connor's. But upon closer inspection, there were many differences. He was much thinner than Connor, with more pronounced brow bones. Compared to Connor, he exuded an unruly aura, and the mole near the corner of his eye made him seem even more rakish. Seeing my tear-streaked makeup and disheveled state, he actually laughed. The bridesmaid snapped, "What are you laughing at?" "Sorry, it's just. Are you sure you want to go on like this?" They finally noticed that my makeup had been smudged from crying and quickly went out to contact the makeup artist. He didn't seem uncomfortable like a stranger would. Instead, he casually sat down right beside me. "Where's the groom? Where did that younger brother of mine disappear to?" I didn't answer him directly. Instead, I placed a suit on his lap. "He's dead." He casually flipped through the suits and asked indifferently, "Dead? How did she die?" I gritted my teeth and spat out vengefully, "Got run over by a car." "For real?" "Wait, I think someone actually got hit by a car outside, but it's a woman. And it's not serious, not even bleeding." My hands unconsciously clenched my wedding dress. The woman who got hit, wasn't that Luna? I thought she'd been seriously injured. Turns out there wasn't even any blood. The way she was talking to Connor on the phone earlier, anyone would think she was at death's door. The thought made me feel even worse. Luna wasn't even badly hurt, yet Connor still didn't come back. At that moment, the bridesmaids brought the makeup artist in for an emergency touch-up. Seeing my state, the makeup artist was taken aback. The bride has cried all her makeup off. You got up so early for this. Did you have a fight with the groom? I calmly replied, the groom is dead. The makeup artist was so startled that she dropped her brush. Dead? The bridesmaids finally spoke up, he's not dead, he ran off with another woman. The makeup artist cursed angrily, better if he were dead. The guests outside are all asking questions. What's the bride supposed to do now that he's run off? I smiled, no problem. If he can run off with another woman, I can marry another man too. I turned to Connor's twin brother. Only then did he realize, what do you mean? I stroked the suit in his arms, you resemble Connor the most. Since I'm changing grooms, you're the most suitable candidate. He hurriedly handed the suit back to me, you'd better find someone else. I'm not interested in my brother's wife. As he was about to leave, I pulled him back. If you're not interested in your brother's wife, then surely you're interested in money? I'm an only child. My father is a company CEO, my mother is a celebrity, and all those business tycoons out there have collaborated with my family. My parents spent $3 million just on the wedding decorations, and each banquet table cost no less than $20,000. My family prepared a dowry for me, 3 commercial properties, 1 estate, 1 villa, over $1 million in cash, and 100 taels of gold. Just the cash gifts from the guests alone, I can collect over $1 million. And Connor and I were only together for a month, we didn't live together, there was no actual marriage, no property disputes, and I'm not your brother's wife. Now, are you still not interested in me? It was clear he wavered the moment he heard the first sentence. He took the suit back and carefully put it on. Honey, why didn't you mention such conditions earlier? His change of attitude was so swift that it left the bridesmaids astonished. Amy. It's obvious he only changed his mind because of your money. Exactly. Look at his thuggish appearance, marrying him would be worse than marrying Connor. At least Connor is a top student with a good job. I glanced at him, expecting him to be upset by these remarks, but he seemed completely unfazed, focused solely on adjusting his collar and hair. Hey! We're all criticizing you like this, and you're not even going to argue back. He chuckled, why would I argue? You're my wife's best friends, which makes you my friends too. Even if I wanted to argue with you, I'd have to wait until after the wedding, right? With that, he pulled several red envelopes from his pocket. Come on, you've worked hard these days. Take as many as you like. Everyone was stunned. Connor's older brother, who looked like a small-time hoodlum, actually knew how to handle situations so well. In stark contrast, Connor, who appeared so refined, showed zero interest in the wedding preparations, leaving everything to them. They stopped complaining and quietly pocketed the red envelopes. I stopped him, you don't earn money easily, let me give them the red packets instead. He suddenly leaned in and whispered by my ear, it's fine, you'll take care of me, right? My face flushed crimson instantly, coloring my ears. No one had ever been this physically close to me before. Seeing my reaction only amused him further. Who knows how my younger brother treated you? Surely he didn't make you live like a widow every day? I recall all the intimate moments with Connor. Back in high school, when Connor and Luna were in that ambiguous phase. Sometimes they'd argue, and he'd deliberately tousle my hair, drape an arm over my shoulder, his fingers winding through my locks in slow, deliberate circles. At the time, I just basked in that sweetness, completely unaware he was only doing it to make Luna jealous. Later in college, they finally got together, and I gave up pursuing him. Yet he and Luna kept breaking up constantly. Every time they fought, he'd summon me to dinners, library study sessions, always posting subtly suggestive photos that purposely included glimpses of my hand. But in the end, I was just a cog in their love machine. Soon enough, Luna's jealousy would draw him back, and they'd reconcile. Eventually, Luna married and got pregnant. That absurd drama finally ended, and he chose to be with me at last. However, during this 1 month of our relationship, I might as well have been a widow. He always refused to meet me, claiming to be busy with overtime work. Even when I waited at his office building to have lunch together, he would leave right after eating, saying he had to return to work. Yet I knew perfectly well, his job was arranged through my parents' connections. Whether he truly had that much work to do, no one knew better than me. My heart ached for a moment, but it didn't matter. Consider it the last time I'd ache for him. Just then, the wedding coordinator came to hurry us along. Are the bride and groom ready? The ceremony is about to begin. I quickly stopped the coordinator. Wait. The groom's name needs to be changed. Otherwise, during the vows, the coordinator would ask. Ms. Amy, do you take Mr. Connor to be your lawfully wedded husband, for richer or for poorer? I don't. I would never be with Connor. The officiant froze, apparently having never encountered such an outrageous request before. But being professional, he asked, very well, what name should we change the groom's to? I turned to him and asked, what's your name? He seemed taken aback that I would commit so fully to the act, pausing briefly before saying, Ryan. At the wedding venue, guests had already gathered in celebration. Following protocol, I walked down the red carpet holding my father's hand. As I made my entrance, Ryan also stepped onto the stage from the opposite side. At that moment, all eyes were still fixed on the bride, with everyone enthusiastically complimenting how beautiful I looked today. It wasn't until I approached the front and my father placed my hand in his that people finally noticed him. Oh my, what a perfect match. Such a talented gentleman and beautiful lady. Perhaps because he looked so much like Connor, or maybe because nearly all the guests were from my side of the family, no one realized that the groom at this wedding had been swapped out. But paper can't wrap fire, our act was exposed during the tea ceremony. I picked up the tea and offered it to my parents-in-law. Dad, Mom, please have some tea. Yet they didn't accept the tea, nor did they even glance at me, their gazes remained entirely fixed on Ryan. My father-in-law kept rubbing his eyes, which had turned red, staring unblinkingly at Ryan while trembling all over. My mother-in-law was even more devastated, tears streamed down before she could speak, her face pale as she stood frozen, nearly fainting from grief. My heart sank. Indeed, only parents can recognize their twins, they had identified Ryan after all. As they delayed accepting my tea, the guests began murmuring. What's going on? The mother-in-law won't accept her daughter-in-law's tea? Exactly. Our Amy marrying into their family is already marrying beneath her station, and they dare to try to intimidate her. Damn right. Do they really think our side of the family is easy to bully? My mother-in-law still refused to accept the tea, merely glaring at me with resentment. Her eyes seemed to ask, how did you find him? Why did you marry him? What about Connor? The guests below all pitied me, but only I knew my in-laws weren't actually trying to assert dominance over me. On the contrary, I was terrified they might shout out the truth in front of everyone. You're not Connor. Are you the child we abandoned? How can you marry her? She's your brother's girlfriend. After all, what parent could accept their daughter-in-law marrying another son? If the people below found out the truth, I'm afraid our family would lose all face, and my parents' company would be affected too. However, my palms were sweaty with nervousness when Ryan suddenly let go of my hand and handed them the tea. Dad, Mom, please have some tea. Hearing the child they had personally abandoned call them Dad and Mom and serve them tea with his own hands was something they had only dreamed of. At this moment, they suddenly burst into heart-wrenching sobs, no longer questioning the matter, trembling as they accepted the tea. Ryan quickly squeezed my hand, and understanding his cue, I hastily poured another cup of tea. Dad, Mom, please have some tea. Without the slightest hesitation, they accepted the cup. This meant they were embracing the absurdity of my groom switch, accepting my marriage to Ryan. Finally, the officiant began the vows. Miss Amy, do you take Mr. Ryan to be your lawful wedded husband, for better or for worse? Fortunately, I had only written bride and groom on the wedding invitations. So from start to finish, no one realized Connor had already abandoned me. Everyone immersed themselves in the joy of the wedding, continuously offering us blessings. By the time the banquet ended, it was already evening. The guests were thoroughly drunk, supporting each other as they left. My new in-laws stayed behind with us. Through tears, they embraced Ryan, asking how he'd survived these past 20-odd years, whether his illness had healed, if he'd gone to school, where he'd made a living, why he was so thin. But Ryan, unlike when he'd served tea earlier with such deference, outright pushed them away. Whether I've lived well or not has nothing to do with you. My mother-in-law broke down, sobbing as she asked, "Child, weren't you just serving us tea moments ago? Doesn't that mean you've forgiven us?" He merely said coldly, "I just didn't want you revealing the truth in front of all the guests." I couldn't let my wife lose face. That cup of tea wasn't forgiveness, it was just to shut you up. Before my parents could process what was happening, Connor suddenly arrived in a flurry of dust and exhaustion. Seeing the banquet hall completely cleared with no guests remaining, he initially wanted to demand answers, "Where have all the guests gone?" But with my parents standing protectively in front of me, he restrained himself somewhat, bending his knees in a servile manner as he explained to them. "Dad, Mom, an old classmate of mine got into a car accident here. I had no choice but to leave Amy temporarily to go save them. Now that I'm back, we can proceed with the wedding." Having said that, he couldn't resist adding, "But where did all the guests go? Didn't they wait for me?" "Well, they are all CEOs after all, it's understandable they wouldn't give me face. At least both sets of parents are here. Let's just hurry up and hold the ceremony now." He expected my parents would continue indulging him as they always had, but instead of following his lead, they stared at him in shock and demanded, "What on earth is going on here?" My in-laws also crowded around, eager to find out what had happened, why the groom had suddenly been switched at the wedding. And replaced with their long-lost other son, no less. But Connor still hadn't caught on to their meaning and kept urging me to proceed with the ceremony. Finally, I couldn't hold back my sarcasm any longer. "Weren't you planning to call off the wedding for your ex-girlfriend just this morning? What's with the sudden rush to get married now?" His face instantly darkened. He never expected me to expose him in front of both sets of parents. Without a care for my parents' presence, he roared at me. "Amy! Can't you show a little kindness? It's true I went to rescue my ex-girlfriend this morning, so what? She was in a car accident nearby, was I supposed to not help her?" At that moment, my parents finally snapped, pointing at his nose furiously. "Connor! Today is your wedding day. And you abandoned our daughter to rush off and save your ex-girlfriend? What does her accident have to do with you? Are you a cop or a doctor? Were you even needed? You know this is downtown, right? Even if it were a dog in an accident, traffic police would be there instantly. Why did you have to play hero? And even if you felt compelled to check on her out of human decency, couldn't you have waited until after the ceremony and toasts? Can't you tell what's urgent and what's not? How could you heartlessly leave your fiancé here alone, open to everyone's gossip?" My parents' words tore into him so fiercely he looked ready to crawl on the floor searching for his teeth. His face instantly flushed crimson, then turned mottled with patches of green and purple. Just to twist the knife, I added, "How could he possibly misjudge priorities? He knows them perfectly well. In his eyes, Luna matters most. What am I, chopped liver?" "Enough, Amy!" Connor growled through clenched teeth. "I'm back now, aren't I? Do you still want this wedding or not?" Right then, his phone suddenly rang. He guiltily swiped to decline the call, no prizes for guessing it was Luna. Huh. No wonder he's suddenly in such a hurry to hold our wedding, it turns out he's rushing back to take care of Luna. He thought I'd beg him pathetically like before, but I didn't say a word. The look I gave him was filled with nothing but hatred and ice. His heart suddenly skipped a beat, this was the first time I'd ever looked at him this way. Before, my gaze had always carried a hint of fawning. But he still stubbornly insisted, "Amy, I'm asking you one last time, are we having this wedding or not?" Before my parents could even scold him, I firmly replied, no wedding. Get lost. Fine. Amy. Don't you regret this? Don't forget how pathetic and low you were when you chased after me. Even if you beg on your knees, even if you cry and plead, I'll never marry you. With that, he went to pull his parents along. Dad. Mom. Let's go. But his parents violently shook him off. He looked at them in disbelief. Dad. Mom. What's the meaning of this? She won't marry me anymore. Aren't you coming with me? Yet, his parents uttered words that shocked him beyond belief. Leave? Amy is our daughter-in-law. Today is our son's wedding day with her, don't you dare cause trouble. Connor stared in disbelief, his eyes wide. Dad. Mom. What are you saying? Aren't I your son? But before the words could settle, Ryan suddenly wrapped his arms around me from behind, resting his head on my shoulder and whispering softly in my ear. Darling, it's so late. When are we going to the bridal chamber? Connor had just been making a scene about leaving, but upon seeing this, he was left speechless, frozen in place with hollow eyes fixed on us, his cheeks trembling involuntarily. Ryan's breath brushed against my ear with an ambiguous warmth. Where had I ever been held like this before? My entire body trembled, and I instinctively tried to push him away, but he only pulled me closer. But to Connor, it looked as though I was coyly playing hard to get. A sudden surge of inexplicable fury rose within him, and he stepped forward to separate us. Amy. You're my wife, how can you be hugging another man like this? I pushed him away fiercely, my gaze icy with indifference. I'm already married and have nothing to do with you. Even if we did, I'd still be your sister-in-law now. Sister-in-law? Hearing this title, he stared at Ryan in disbelief at that face so identical to his own. Pointing at Ryan with trembling hands, his voice shook. He's my twin brother? When did you find him? I sneered coldly. A few days ago, I found him in the slums. I was planning to give your whole family a nice surprise today, but your Luna ended up surprising me first. The guests outside are all waiting, and no matter how many times I called you, you ignored me. Since that's the case, I have no choice but to change the groom. Hearing this, the anger on Connor's face actually subsided, and he even breathed a sigh of relief. See, I knew it. There's no way you'd marry another man. It must be because I wasn't around, and you had no choice but to let him stand in for me temporarily, right? After all, he looks like me, the guests wouldn't even notice the difference. After saying that, he still looked down on me and spoke. You can't live without me. How could you possibly marry another man? Fine then, if that's how it is, just apologize to me and I'll agree to hold a wedding ceremony with you. How about that? As for the fact that you already had a wedding with my brother, I won't hold it against you. After all, you had no choice. He thought I'd cling to his sleeve pitifully like before. But now, I just let out a cold laugh before grabbing Ryan's arm instead. Honey, let's hurry back to our room. Let's not waste our wedding night on him. Connor's emotions were on a roller coaster again upon hearing this. He quickly grabbed my arm. What do you mean? Amy, he's just a substitute. Are you seriously thinking of turning this act into reality? Ryan didn't have such a good temper. Seeing Connor grabbing my hand, he got angry and actually threw a punch. What act into reality? My wife and I are the real deal. Connor covered his face in pain and shouted at him, "You're nothing but my substitute." If I hadn't had something come up today, I would be the one standing by her side. Who do you think you are? I didn't respond to his words. Instead, I picked up the remote control and played today's wedding video on the big screen. On the big screen, I walked down the aisle in my wedding dress, beaming with happiness as my father placed my hand in Ryan's. We exchanged a loving gaze, looking every bit like a deeply enamored couple. Seeing this scene, Connor felt as if his heart had been suddenly clenched tight. Next came the tea ceremony for my parents-in-law. Though they clearly recognized he wasn't Connor, they still accepted our tea and gave their blessing to our marriage. Finally, during the officiant's vows, the name spoken wasn't Connor's but, "Do you take Ryan to be your husband, to have and to hold, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health?" And I firmly replied, "I do." The next second, we kissed amidst the blessings of the guests. Connor wasn't that devastated at first, but witnessing the wedding unfold before his eyes was no less shocking than when Ryan hugged me from behind earlier. He stared at the big screen in disbelief, his lips turning pale and even bleeding from how hard he was biting them. "Impossible. This can't be. He's just my substitute. Why did the MC call his name? Ryan went for the kill. Weren't you the one who said we were fake acting for real? Who pretends to kiss this long?" I felt a bit embarrassed and pinched his waist. The elders were still here, why say such things? Connor still couldn't believe what was happening, his face pale and his whole body trembling. Just then, sudden footsteps echoed from outside the door. We all turned to look, and I recognized her immediately. It was Luna. At that moment, she was wearing an extravagant little white dress, high heels, heavy makeup, holding a bouquet of flowers, gazing at Connor with tender affection in her eyes. She glanced at my wedding dress, mistakenly thinking Connor and I had already finished our vows, and her face fell with disappointment. She walked up to Connor and said in a hoarse, aggrieved voice, "Connor. I fell asleep in the hospital, and when I woke up you were gone. I called but you didn't answer, so I guessed you'd already come to marry her. Congratulations, you've finally found your happiness. I came to say goodbye. I'm going abroad." Though her words sounded sincere, her outfit looked nothing like someone there to bid farewell, more like someone here to steal the groom. I played along with her act. "Dressed like that, you don't seem here to say goodbye, more like you're trying to ruin my wedding. You already ruined this morning's ceremony. Do you really want to sabotage my evening makeup wedding too?" Luna naturally lowered her head with a guilty conscience, but still pretended to be pitiful. "I didn't. Amy, how could I be that kind of person? I genuinely wished you happiness. Today's car accident was purely an accident." "Car accident? That was some high-level car crash, huh? I see you don't have a single scratch. You even managed to wear high heels and dress up so beautifully to rush over. So what did you mean when you said on the phone that you were about to die and begged Connor to come see you one last time?" Luna grew even more guilty and could only keep crying. "I didn't. I really didn't. I was in so much pain at the time. I thought I was going to die, and the one I was most worried about was Connor, so I asked him to come see me one last time. I really didn't mean to ruin your wedding." She glanced at Connor, who, as expected, still sided with her. "Amy. Who do you think you are to talk to Luna like that? She's still a patient. Are you really trying to push her to her death? How can you be so vicious?" A faint, barely perceptible smile curled at the corner of Luna's lips as she continued playing the victim. "Connor. I should probably leave. My presence here might disturb you too. It's a pity I couldn't witness your wedding, but seeing you happy is enough for me. I'll go now, don't look for me anymore." With that, she turned to leave. Though she claimed to be departing, her steps were deliberately slow, clearly waiting for Connor to call her back. I sneered coldly, then took the initiative by calling out her name first. "Luna, wait." Everyone looked at me in confusion. Why would I want her to stay? Unless it was to berate her? Luna immediately halted her steps. The only pity was that it wasn't Connor who had stopped her, but no matter. As long as I insulted her, Connor would surely speak up in her defense. She turned around, but contrary to expectations, I didn't scold her. Instead, I smiled and said, "Actually, I didn't marry Connor. I changed grooms last minute and married his older brother today." As I spoke, I leaned sweetly against Ryan's shoulder. Connor still wanted to marry me just now, but how could I agree? Well, since he's so eager to get married, it shouldn't matter who he marries. Perfect timing, you're already dressed so beautifully. Why don't the two of you get married right here? His parents are present too, they can even receive your ceremonial tea. Connor couldn't believe these words were coming from me. Never in his wildest dreams did he imagine that I, who had loved him so deeply, would now hand him over to someone else without hesitation. Luna could barely contain her smile upon hearing these words, lifting her skirt as she walked toward Connor. Connor's face showed displeasure, devoid of any joy befitting a groom. But Luna had already reached him, clutching the hem of his jacket. "Connor. I've never forgotten you all these years." Then she turned to my in-laws. "Mom, Dad, I promise to honor and respect you from now on." Yet my in-laws glared at her. "No need. Didn't you say the same to your first husband's parents? And didn't you still divorce?" Everyone knew how Luna had abandoned Connor to marry a foreigner back then. Immediately, tears streamed down Luna's face like rain, her pitiful gaze fixed on Connor. Connor didn't even glance at her, instead glaring at me with resentment, especially at the sight of Ryan holding my hand. "Fine. Since both our parents are here, let's get married today too." With that, he pulled over chairs for his parents to sit. "Dad, Mom, let the bride serve you tea." Naturally, his parents refused, shouting at him angrily, "What tea ceremony? A divorced woman who's been pregnant before, who ruined your wedding, how could she ever enter our family?" Then they took mine and Ryan's hands. "This is our real daughter-in-law. We are one family. If you stubbornly insist on marrying her, then consider us no longer your parents." Yet Luna still handed them the tea. But they didn't even glance at it, instead flinging it aside directly. Seeing our family of four happily gathered, Connor suddenly remembered how on the big screen during the tea ceremony, they had accepted the tea from Ryan and me. "If you clearly recognized during the wedding ceremony that Ryan wasn't me, how could you still accept Amy's tea?" His parents answered bluntly, "No reason needed. At the very least, Amy wouldn't ruin someone else's wedding, rushing to be the other woman." Connor quickly helped Luna up. Seeing her cry so bitterly while Ryan and I were already discussing honeymoon plans made his blood boil, and he outright exploded. "I don't care if you agree or not, I'm taking her to get our marriage license right now. From now on, Luna will be my wife." He even turned to add for my benefit, "After this, we're completely through." But I paid him no mind, continuing to debate whether we should go mountain climbing or to the beach. He took Luna's hand and stormed off, though noticeably slowing his pace. Luna, mistaking this for consideration of her high heels, felt her heart swell with happiness. After they had completely left, my in-laws held my hand and kept apologizing. "We're sorry, Amy. We failed to raise our son properly, making you suffer this injustice." I just smiled and said, "It's all right. Thankfully I didn't marry Connor, otherwise, how would I have endured a lifetime of compromises?" Luna's appearance turned out to be not such a bad thing after all. As I spoke, I also gave Ryan's hand a gentle squeeze. "Besides, I think he seems like a good man." My parents came forward and said to Ryan, "Since you don't have a house or car yet, why don't you stay at our place first? We'll buy you one later." Although he doesn't own a house, I do. My parents' move is simply to keep an eye on Ryan and set some ground rules for him. He didn't resist either. "All right, thank you for your trouble, Mom and Dad." I took the opportunity to mention, "By the way, I arranged Connor's job for him. It's not appropriate for him to stay in our company anymore. How about having him resign? We can give him 3 months extra salary." My father nodded, "Naturally. If it weren't for your say back then, with his qualifications, how could he ever have gotten into my company?" With that, he politely asked my in-laws for their opinion. "You don't have any objections, do you?" "None at all. We only acknowledge this one son now. What he wants has nothing to do with us anymore." Their gazes toward Ryan were filled with remorse. Even though he might not want to forgive them, they still kept pulling at him, asking endless questions. It wasn't until we returned to our new home that they finally stopped. "Shall we go get our marriage license tomorrow?" Ryan didn't make any moves on me, just held me in his arms and slept peacefully. "Darling, shall we get our license tomorrow too?" The next day, we got up early to get our license, but the entrance was completely blocked by a huge crowd of onlookers. "What's going on? Why is that foreigner yelling over there?" Apparently there's a woman who married this foreigner but never divorced him, then secretly came back to China to marry her ex-boyfriend. The foreigner found out and flew here overnight. What a mess. Isn't this considered bigamy? Absolutely. That foreigner already called the police, and the officers have arrived. My heart skipped a beat. Could they be talking about Luna? Rising on tiptoe to peer inside, I saw the police dispersing the crowd. Luna was being pushed out by a foreigner, while Connor was also being escorted away in custody. Due to suspicion of bigamy, they all had to go give statements. The crowd pointed at Luna as they emerged. Hey! That's her, isn't it? Already married abroad yet daring to come back for a secret wedding? Shaming herself internationally. Connor's expression was grim. He'd just learned the complete truth. Luna's earlier story about a fake marriage was all lies. She and that foreigner were actually in love. Even the pregnancy under duress was fabricated. Unaware of the truth, the crowd now turned their pointing fingers at Connor. Hey, this must be the homewrecker. TSK, what a disgrace. Exactly. It's all over the place now. The woman might still manage to go abroad, but what's the man going to do? TSK. Connor had never experienced anything like this before. He cherished his reputation above all. How could he possibly tolerate being laughed at? He quickly raised his head, eager to explain that he had been deceived by Luna. However, what he saw was me being held by Ryan. At this moment, the expression on my face as I looked at him was no different from that of the onlookers who were here for the spectacle. His mind suddenly buzzed, blood rushing to his head. His previously pale complexion instantly turned a sickly shade of purple. They were all taken away in police cars, and we quickly went inside to prepare for our marriage registration. Seeing this scene, he finally panicked. Ignoring the police presence, he rushed toward me. Amy! Don't marry him. Don't register with him. However, the next second, he was pulled back by the police. Come with us to the station immediately. He began pleading desperately with the officers. Officers, I'm innocent, I didn't commit bigamy. She's my wife, please let me go, or she'll register with someone else, I beg you. Just let me talk to her, or she really won't be mine anymore. The police wouldn't listen to him. She was never yours to begin with. Her husband is standing right beside her. Stop talking nonsense and come with us now. He struggled against them while screaming through tears, Amy. Don't register the marriage. Please wait for me, just wait until I come back, I'll marry you, I swear I won't abandon you this time, I'll give you the grandest wedding. Don't marry him, he grew up in the slums. He's utterly unworthy of you. He's only after your money, can't you see? Please Amy, don't go inside. It's not too late, just wait until I'm free. I never wanted to marry Luna in the first place. Yesterday I only did it out of spite when I saw you marrying another man. I thought you'd get jealous, that you'd stop me. It's all my fault. Now that I know the truth, I finally see my own heart clearly. No matter how he begged or called my name, I turned a blind eye and even took Ryan's hand to walk inside. Amy! Come back. You can't do this, I'm your husband, I'm the one who should be going in with you. You can't do this, Amy. Come out. Despite his desperate struggle, drawing everyone's attention, he was ultimately overpowered and dragged away by the police. As for me, I walked out with my marriage certificate in hand, side by side with Ryan. Connor rushed out after giving his statement, terrified that I might have already registered our marriage. Yet I had already posted our marriage certificate online. His heart ached as he stared at the photo, frantically searching for any trace of me. He scoured almost every corner of the city, checking all the places I'd repeatedly mentioned wanting to visit with him, yet found no sign of me. He even went to my workplace, thinking I might have gone to work. Not only did he fail to find me, but he was also informed he'd been fired. His position would immediately be filled by Ryan. He screamed at his former colleagues, how could this happen? That guy's just a street punk. How is he qualified to take my job? His co-workers didn't let him off easy either, firing back, you still think you're the young mistress's fiancé? How dare you yell at us? Get lost. The same colleagues who once put him on a pedestal now treated him completely differently. Just as I had once obeyed his every word and swallowed my pride for him, but now instead of helping him out of this predicament, I was marrying another man. This tremendous sense of left him utterly disoriented. Carrying his belongings, he returned home wanting to ask about my whereabouts, only to find his parents weren't home. He hurriedly video-called his parents, only to discover they were on honeymoon with us, their words full of praise for our union. What a wonderful daughter-in-law, afraid we'd feel lonely at home, so she took us all along. This place is truly beautiful, we won't be able to go back and cook for you, so make do with whatever you can find. With that, they hung up the phone, completely unconcerned about his unemployment or how he'd become the laughingstock of the entire city. Even his parents' attitude toward him had changed. After all these years, he knew exactly how guilty they felt about that older brother of his. From now on, they'd probably only acknowledge him, wouldn't they? Connor looked around the empty house and finally broke. He could have had a wife who adored only him, a happy and perfect family, an ideal career, a life that everyone envied. But now, all of that is gone. It was all his own fault, yet he never imagined I could change my heart so quickly. Before, I had always been so patient, always indulging him. At this thought, he covers his face and weeps. If given another chance, he would cherish me properly. But, where in this world can one find the medicine of regret? Later, as I gradually got to know Ryan, I saw how diligently he worked at the company, without any of Connor's arrogance. Everyone liked him. Just as Connor had once adored Luna, continuing to watch over her even after she married, now too, even after my marriage, he keeps his eyes on me. I, too, have become his white moonlight. But I wasn't about to indulge him. I immediately deleted and blocked him without making any social media announcements. Not even our mutual friends knew just how happy we were. When Connor lost contact with me, he initially went crazy trying to find out what happened. But what he eventually discovered was that I was already pregnant. Completely disheartened, he bought a one-way ticket and disappeared forever. Later, I heard he and Luna had secretly gotten back together. Just when everyone thought he'd never change his ways, shocking news broke out: he'd attempted murder. Luna ended up in a vegetative state because of him. Her husband abandoned her, filing for divorce, leaving her to spend the rest of her days withering away in a hospital bed. Connor was sentenced to life imprisonment with no visitors. Though his parents still had some affection for him, they were too busy taking care of me and their grandson to even consider traveling abroad to see him. Although Ryan still hadn't forgiven them for abandoning him, he didn't prevent them from seeing their grandson. Our family could be considered 3 generations living together now.